Good morning, good morning. I found a book. It's an old book written by some relative of ours, Chris Kill's pretty enemy. Awat Uwe. It has something to do with to look or to scan ahead. Awat Uwe is a Lakota term, meaning I have scanned and located. It refers to the Lakota scouts of old. Thus, my primary motivation for writing this book. I wrote it to provide as a navigational aid for those reservation youth who would seek experience outside. The experiences I've cited in this book are real. Each occurrence represents a guiding marker, and every place a signpost of where I've been. The printing of the Lakota terms in this book are not fixed with proper hanging J's or the backward Q's as taught in the modern-day classroom. It's been the wish of an old Lakota to print the terms as they sound in normal everyday English, that it was less scientific and easier to understand by the young, which may regain an interest in the language. A word about the Lakota language. Traditionally, Lakota has never been a written language. Hasn't been. Everything like relating events, history, and the like has been word of mouth. Although this process of communication is very simple to remember, one word for one meaning, where it becomes complicated is in its use. Its gender orientation, its trains of thought, its inflections, intonations, guttural sounds, etc. Most references in this language are associative. By that, I mean much of the references are from the environment, from the sky, from the land, from spiritual things, etc. And because of this associative relationship, situations are more terminologically descriptive. One word describing whole situations. Consequently, things like humor come from the ability to imagine the language, making some terms impossible for direct word-for-word translation. Given this, I've had to either omit certain areas or take liberties in conveyance. One such example in this book was the existence of a land in between the colors of sunset. I can't remember any story about that. I'll have to think real hard. I would like to make the reader aware that much of the considerations expressed represent those of the male gender, subculture of the Lakota. There is a tremendous difference between the two genders. The two genders. So this book, Awat Uwe, written by one of our relatives, Chris Kills Pretty Enemy. First edition was 2003, and I can't remember what this edition was or is. And who keeps texting me? So, Awatuai, meaning I have scanned and located. I have scanned and looked ahead. I looked through this book. I'm trying to find the story here of the naming of one certain family, Kills Pretty Enemy, in this book, and it's not notated like that. It's just a book. It's a few chapters here and there, and there's no titles or subheadings. The Lakota conclusion was indeed staggering. He remembered his grandfather talking about the tobacco ties that encircled the vision seeker. The added number of ties represented the number of generations since the beginning of the Lakota. It was now near 500. But he decided to take a conservative estimate as he made calculations in the dirt. If this culture was over 400 generations in existence, he thought, as he sketched out the numbers on the ground beside him, 400 multiplied by approximately 25 years for the length of one generation, with a result being 10,000 years old. To be blipped out of existence in less than one generation. Anyway, that's just one little paragraph of opening up the book somewhere. I keep saying on Twitter, and I keep saying on public Facebook, and I have said on Instagram, and I keep saying on Twitter, find yourself. Meditate. You have to give up everything that you think you know. Other people have said this stuff long before I was ever born. I just happen to have my own awakening, and I feel the same way. Give up some things. It doesn't mean that you stop doing your mathematical notations and stuff. It doesn't mean you stop reading and writing. No. But if you believe in certain religions or books or philosophies, you have to give that up. Stop relying on external things. Rely more on you. And one of those things that I have done for myself was to do some counting, and in my meditations and in my sleep, I went before the Creator, or they came to me, she came to me, he came to me. And I did some number calculations, and then I posted something on Twitter and said something to the effect of 250,000 years old. But that was talking about certain things. You'll have to go find those texts if you want to. So. But the dominant society right now writes the religious books, thinks that it knows everything about everything, and is bullying other cultures as well as my own, and trying to have its way in the world, but it's fast. The dominant culture is fast losing its place in society, and Lakota have, as you would say, we have been here before the beginning. We have seen other societies rise and fall. We have been close to the Creator. When you are a blessed society like that, it doesn't mean that every person in that culture, but there are awake people in every generation as time moves on. So the Lakota have been here on Earth. We were here before this Earth was made. When you're driving around your state or wherever you are, go visit somewhere else. I'm sure there's a history of any particular city or town or community where you live. Maybe other people jump-started the population there, or maybe other people lived there for ages. Maybe you were there, maybe you didn't. But human life continues. Maybe human life began in your little neighborhood or your nearby city or somewhere a few decades ago, maybe a few hundred years ago. So think about life before Earth began. Who's to say that you weren't there or elsewhere? Your culture, your race, your creed, your tongue. Who's to say that my people, the Lakota, weren't there as well? Weren't wherever. I'm not a flat earther. I believe in global sphere. I believe in unlimited opportunity. I believe in unlimited advancement as far as you want to do things. We believe in forever. We know of forever. The round circles of our teepees, the circle or the oval, is just a shape on the ground. Just look at that and ponder for millennia. Base religion or base your philosophies around that principle. That's just one aspect of the Lakota teepee. Look inside the Lakota teepee. It's just a skin structure. Looks like a cone. Nothing inside of it. What do we have in our society? What do we have in our environment? That in its smallest molecular form, on the Planck scale, as scientists call it now, upon the smallest part of the very, very tiniest fabric of space and time. These little particulates, these things called atoms. What is the storage space of just one? And what does a Lakota teepee represent? We've been here forever. Wake up to these facts. Wake up to things of your own culture. And I will continue to say it on my own social media. Who I am, what I am, and what the fuck it means to me. Find yourself. And then from there you will create for yourself. I'm 51 years old. I already have family. I already have what you would call a spouse or loved ones. I have children. When you awaken to things personally and on your own and for yourself, you get the opportunity to do things, not in front of the world, certainly not in front of your family. But if you know how to step through certain things of space and time, if you are given any artifacts or any knowledge, and you are somehow deemed worthy by the Creator in any lifetime, then you do privately for yourself some things. So everyone can think that I don't have family, don't have kids of my own, and everyone thinks that my progress on earth is stagnated. Everyone thinks I'm a drunk and a bum, and I'm staying at home with my parents, and all this is true. But I'm a native. I have a lodge. For me, I have acquired things with it, from it, inside it. I can tell you, just like any religionist will tell you, your deceased and loved ones are not dead. They are real. They are living. Lakota will tell you the same thing. Turning the page here and there. The Lakota word for tracking, atue, had a twofold meaning. To scan, as in understanding the layout, to search for something specific, and to mark the way and move on. The concept behind these is one which conveys the ability to feel one's way through the countryside, which referred mostly to some of the more secretive abilities of scouting societies. In the days of old, the members of these organizations were people that war leaders depended on for vanguard missions into enemy territory, and these people took great pride in their abilities. So, I don't know if this book is in print anymore. I don't see it anywhere, but Awatue. If you be nice to me, if you want to, I'll sit with a camera and take pictures page by page and put it in a PDF form for you. Anyway. So there was a nice story in here about how the name Kills Pretty Enemy started. So, but when I find that, I'll read it somehow. And I mean, it's a cool story. It really is. But all of these stories, they always tell of other things regarding the natives. And all of these stories, just like any other good story, just like your religionist story, you can always pull something good out of it for you. Anyway. So, Chris Kills Pretty Enemy, he's online somewhere. He's one of our relatives. He wrote a book of his life here on Standing Rock. Joined the military, did some personal computing job, and that turned into some type of computer programming specialist, real smart person to know all these things about the internet and computers and stuff. Yeah, I barely know how to turn on these devices and start them and use the internet. So, anyway, okay, so anyway, I better stop talking here. Hey. And I'll put this online, and then I'll get some more stories going, and I will continue using more. I bought this little selfie stick here. I like it. Of course, I put the device for this right there on the base of my camera on another tripod. So I'm going to use this. All right, 23 minutes of jibber jabber, and if I can figure out how to turn this damn thing off. So.